Somehow, if you have these F1 drivers behind you, you can feel the power, you can feel the spirit. Everyone is looking forward for the restart. Everything can happen, and that's the fascination on the sport. And even I feel this. If you ask me if I'm still nervous, yes, I'm nervous. Without this adrenaline, I think it would be boring, and I would be not a safety car driver anymore. But I need that.
Welcome everybody to this week's F1 Beyond the Grid. I am delighted to say that we are joined by the FIA's Safety Car Driver, Bernd Maylander. Bernd, it's great to have you on the show again. It's been 6 years since you were last on. The sport has changed a lot in that time, but one thing hasn't. You are still the safety car driver.
That's right, yeah, but the sport's still great. We have good times, I have to say, on the track. So it's great to be back, by the way. Thank you a lot for that.
Well, we're going to have a good chat. Are you still loving it? Still loving being the safety car driver?
That's why I'm here. Yeah, absolutely. It's what you said, yeah, 6 years ago. The time is running so quickly. I always say, if the time is running quickly, many things are going on, and in a positive way. And so that's why 6 years. It just could be yesterday. I remember exactly when we've been sitting together.
That was in Portimao.
Yeah, it was Portimao.
We had the ocean behind us.
Yeah, that was very fantastic.
Well, we're speaking at Suzuka, one of the great racetracks. Can we wind it back a couple of races? Because Melbourne 2026 was a big one for you, wasn't it? 500 races as the FIA's safety car driver. It's an amazing tally. How proud are you of that achievement?
I have to say, well, I knew that this number is coming up. I was flying to Australia under difficult situations by air traffic, like you know. And for me, it was just, 500, sure, something will going on. I was quite relaxed. But then during the weekend, I realized, it's nice. The people recognized it. The FIA have done something really nice on the Thursday afternoon. Evening, we had a nice barbecue with some surprises for me. I have to do a speech, but I'm not really good in it. But I have to say I'm really proud for this number. But I always say, without a team, you can't do that. So you need a good, positive team behind you, and that's what I definitely had. Like say, my co-drivers, the race directors, the people around me were supporting the job. And that was great, and the whole group been joining us for the barbecue, so it was really cool, I have to say. And yeah, it's great, but now I'm looking forward for the next number.
Well, look, before we come on to that, what that next number might be, can we throw it back to 2000 when you started out on this journey? Did you imagine you'd still be doing it 500 races later?
No, not in 2000. So when I originally started 99 in Formula 3000, but was more or less a year to learn the whole procedure. And then you arrived in Melbourne 2000, standing on the grid. I recognize still a picture. I have still a picture in my mind. A young boy standing next to a big safety car. And I knew what I have to do, but I was really, really nervous to go on the grid on a Sunday. There was, I think, just covering Formula One at that time. And it was great. I thought, okay, well, now you're a small part of Formula One for maybe 1 lap or 2 laps, you never know. I never expect that long time to be in the safety car. But that's exactly, if you really like to do something and you have a great team and it's running in a positive way, then that can happen that you're doing 500 Grand Prix or even more.
I suppose back then you were still very much a racing driver, weren't you? You were thinking like a racing driver. And was this almost a sideshow for you?
It was not, well, for sure. The main reason was the focus during a race weekend. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit more focused on the competition. In the job as a safety car driver, and that's what I recognized very quickly. You've been focused on different things. You're focused what can happen. You try to improve the safety job, what you have to cover. Whereas a shortcut for example, there's a shortcut on a track. If that happens, maybe we can use a shortcut. As a race driver, you never think about that because that's up to your engineers and to your people around you. And so you work really close with the race director together to improve the job, you're looking more to the weather forecast for things like that. As a race driver, okay, if it's raining, it's raining, but you're not really focused on the weather forecast. So that was a different job, and that's what I realized. But a very great job. And so one weekend I was the race driver, and on the other weekend I was the FIA Formula One safety car driver, and that's what I really enjoyed for 5 years. And then I stopped officially racing, championship racing, I would say, and been even more focused on the job as a safety car driver, and great.
Did you miss racing, or does this still scratch that itch for you?
Missing racing now with 54, I would say the competition sometimes. I wouldn't sign a contract for a whole championship now with 10 races, for example. But sometimes to drive a nice GT3 car, like Max is doing this for some races, yeah, that would be great. I have done this 4 years ago with an old colleague, with Bernd Maylander. We did a GT race in Germany with GT3 car, and that was really good fun and competition. So if you put your helmet on and the gloves, and if you are on a proper race car, you're in that mode again. I think it's a normal DNA thing for a race driver that you are fully focused on the job, what you have to do. In the safety car, you have to realize it very quickly that you are not in a race car, that you're in the safety car, to have a different kind of mode because you have to protect something else.
You're still driving a very high-performance car, though, aren't you? For the last 5 years, the safety car's been the AMG GT Black Series, hasn't it? Can you put some stats on that in terms of how quick it is, horsepower?
Well, yeah, the GT Black Series, well, it's the quickest safety car ever so far. This car is developed for a racetrack to be not a race car, but to be a really performance car on a racetrack. So with 730 horsepower, big V8 engine. But the car is so nice drivable on the limit with full downforce. So this car, you really feel the downforce. Great balance. So it's really driving like a little race car with slick tires. And that helps for sure. That keeps up your performance. And that's very important, I think, to cover this check, to have a great performance car. And if you think about which car we had, where we're coming from, and which part the safety car had 25 years ago, and now where we are now with which kind of cars, it's great to see. And I'm always surprised by the engineers, what they are developing. So I can say now, yes, I'm really looking forward for the next models.
You mentioned Max Verstappen a minute ago. He's in a Mercedes GT3, and he's racing it at the Nürburgring. Is his car quite similar to what you're driving at F1 races?
Similar. I think the basics are somehow similar. So the basics, front, middle, engine, transaxle, the balance. But in the end, the GT3, it's a proper racing car. This car is developed just to be a race car on a racetrack with much more downforce, less weight. But the basic, you can say, yeah, it's a kind of. The safety car, we have different rules. So it should be a road car. We have even more. We have even nearly 200 horsepower more than the GT3 car, but we are much heavier in the car. We have to use road tires, so the balance in the end it's something different. We have to cover the safety part as a safety car, and we don't want to win the race. That's a different job.
I'm going to come on to that, but just as an aside, while we're mentioning Max Verstappen, you've done a lot of racing at the Nürburgring. In fact, one of your first races was at the Nürburgring, right?
Yeah.
How impressed have you been by what Max has done?
Absolutely, and that's, I think, in general, the whole motorsport GT world is keep an eye on it, what he's doing at that racetrack, because the Nürburgring Nordschleife, that's where I started everything. When I drove by my private car every weekend, after I get the driving license, that was my track to learn how to drive quick. It was not always safe, but I never crashed on the private car, yeah. But he's doing a fantastic job up there, and I think everyone loves it. It's pure racing. It's a very difficult track. It's difficult to overtake, so you need a lot of passion sometimes to get the right moment to overtake someone, especially in the GT3 cars.
And I saw some of the in-car from his race the other day.
It's fantastic.
The way he was carving through the traffic.
Yeah, and
extraordinary.
That's the great thing. So you have different classes up there, different categories, and you have to. You not only have to drive quick, you have to drive very clever to ride for the right moment, and that's what Max is enjoying. So it's great to see him up there. I will be there this year for the 24-hour race. Not only about him, but I think that's some very topic that he's up there, and a lot of people becoming extra for him. And
do you ever properly know the Nordschleife?
Me?
No, does a driver ever properly know the Nordschleife, or can you always get better? Can you always know it better?
I think, yeah, you're looking for the perfect lap up there, and then you think, okay, even if you're on pole position, you know, okay, maybe there's still a half a 10 or something, and this is the Nordschleife. You have so many corners, and for sure you need a little bit of luck to get a proper lap without traffic, but this is the competition up there, and different weather conditions, and because the track is more than 20 kilometers only, the Nordschleife, and this is the challenge up there, and I think everyone loves it. Everyone who's infected by this virus motorsport is searching for the Nordschleife.
This episode is sponsored by Liquid IV. I've been training for a marathon recently, and that started partly out of curiosity, just wanting to see if I could actually do it. But when you start running longer distances, one thing becomes very clear very quickly. Staying properly hydrated makes a huge difference to my performance and my recovery. That's why I always keep a few Liquid IV packets with me. Liquid IV's hydration multiplier helps hydrate faster than water alone. It's powered by Live Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. It's really simple to use. You just tear open a stick, pour it into about 16 ounces of water, give it a shake, and you're good to go. I love the orange, vanilla, and white peach flavors, but there are loads to choose from, so you can pick your own favorite. With 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, Liquid IV's hydration multiplier is the perfect companion if you're setting yourself a fitness challenge like I am, or even if you're just heading out on an adventure. Don't take off empty-handed. Travel with on-the-go hydration from Liquid IV. Tear, pour, live more. Go to liquidiv.com and get 20% off your first purchase with the code GRID at checkout. That's 20% off your first purchase with the code GRID at liquidiv.com. Now, we've discussed the Black Series, but since Mercedes got involved as the safety car supplier, they've had 13 different cars.
Okay, good that you know the number.
I've been counting.
Yeah, good.
Look, you alluded to it earlier, but how have they evolved? Can you remember the first one?
Even if I was not involved in driving that car, but I had maybe the most kilometers on that car because it was my first company car for Mercedes. I was racing for Mercedes at that time as a junior in DTM ITC. And I got a phone call on I think it was a Monday or Tuesday morning after the Monaco Grand Prix. I was home, and Norbert Haug, assistant, he called me and said, Bernd, how many kilometers do you have on your car? And I said, why are you asking me this question? You know, I have this car since 4 weeks. I'm happy. I'm more than happy to have a C36 AMG. That was the sports model, I would say. And so I had to bring the car back on the same day because I was living very close to the headquarters at that time. And they took my car and told me, okay, Bernd, this car will be the new safety car in Formula One from the French Grand Prix afterwards. And so I lost my car, and this car was the first safety car from Mercedes-Benz in 1996. I get a new one a couple of weeks or more months later. But in the end, that was the first contact to a proper, safety car. I didn't expect that I'm sitting in the safety car 5 years later.
And just give us an idea of how much quicker the Black Series is compared to that. If a lap of Magny-Cours, you say the French Grand Prix, how much quicker would you be now than back then?
Oh, I would say 20, 25
wow.
seconds.
As much
Yeah.
as that.
Yeah. Well, it was already a very quick car for that time. It was the quickest, most sporty car, the C36 with 280 horsepower, I guess, at that time. So that was, very powerful. V6 engine. But now we have a V8 engine, double turbo, 730 horsepower, flat crankshaft. So it's completely different. There are many cars in this list where you made a proper step forward by the drivability. But that's the engineers. That's the great thing. 40 years ago, you thought sometimes, okay, that must be now the most sportive car. And for sure, there are still some very special cars. I would say like a Ferrari F40. This is an outstanding car in the 80s. And there are sometimes in some decade are some special cars where still you have to think, oh, that was a milestone, yeah.
Now, look, we've talked about Mercedes, but of course Aston Martin was supplying the safety car for 5 years as well. Tell us about that period.
Well, they joined in 21. The first contact for me was with Aston Martin in 2020. And I never had any contact to Aston Martin. I knew the things from James Bond and these kind of things. And the most popular color was the green ones, the green Aston Martins. And it was fantastic. How they joined us, quite open. They learned a lot in 2020. They was just be at the racetrack to learn, to understand the procedure. And then they developed a really great car. And they've been supplying together with AMG the safety and medical car for 5 years. Great company, I just can say. Great cars, nice spirit. The Vantage safety car, what I had over the whole period, was the same basic car like the Black Series or the car before. It was a front middle engine, transaxle, so really good balance for a basic car. And that's very helpful for me as a safety car driver to have a good basic car with a nice handling.
Was it difficult to swap between the two cars? Because it would be Mercedes one weekend and Aston the next, wouldn't it?
Yeah, sometimes that happened. But after a couple of laps, you know exactly what you have to do. And that's what I said before. The basic of the car's been on the same level. And then you have to adapt a little bit your driving skill. With the GT Black Series, now you're even on a higher level. But to cover my job, that's not really the most important thing. The basic must be really good, and that's what we had. So somehow I can say, yes, I miss Aston Martin in that job because, what I said before, great people with a great brand.
One of the scariest things I've seen recently on the TV came in 2024 at the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. I think you know where I'm going with this. But
yes.
we saw you in the barriers at the Parabolica. What happened? How scary was it?
Yes, for sure. If you think about it, you're on Monza on a high-speed track and you have this problem, for sure you have to be a little bit lucky to not have another proper accident. Most important thing was for me that my co-driver Richard, that he was okay, that I was okay. We're not really looking, what happens in the end. We had a brake issue. We find out immediately after the test, that was during the track test on the Thursday, we find out immediately what happened. And luckily it was not a system failure of the brake system. So we could be sure that the brake will work in the future. That's, I think, one of the most important things. And yeah, it was a crash that can happen in racing because you're working on sometimes on the limit, especially on the track test. You try to find your driving level for the races. And yeah, it was a big impact. If you think about with 270, no brakes, it's not really nice.
Was that the only time you've crashed the safety car?
Yeah, luckily, yes. Yes.
In 500 races?
In 500, well, more or less, 500 races was the only time that I hit a barrier. Yeah. And that was a a big one. Luckily, I did the right thing in that moment. I just tried to bring the car in a rotation to reduce the speed, because if you have no brakes, for sure you can turn in a corner, but nothing will happen, by the way. So you will go straight into the barrier, and that's what I want to avoid, to not going straight into the barrier, just to bring the car in a rotation, to slow down in any way, and that's what we did.
That's the racing driver in you, though, isn't it? It's kind of everything slows down.
I never
have the presence of mind to do that.
I never practiced that, by the way. So that was the first and hopefully the last time. In the end, everything went well, and we could find the mistakes, and done.
Look, you mentioned your co-driver, Richard Darker. Other than being mad to sit alongside you at those high speeds, tell us a little bit about Richard, and what does he do? How does he support you?
It's quite important, because it's teamwork. For sure, I can cover the driving part. We get a lot of information into the safety car. Let's say from the moment onwards, if something happens on the track, it starts with the standby situation. So he's usually pressing the button, standby, reporting to race control. I'm listening to everything. From that moment onward, we know everything on the track. For example, a turn 3 accident, 2 cars on the left side, a lot of debris on the track. Okay, that's the information what we have. We have a screen, we can see it, and he's reporting back. So when we're passing that area, he's reporting back. I can report as well, but 4 eyes and 4 ears see and hear more. If I'm not 100% sure if it was now left or the right side, because I'm focused on driving, it's a backup. So he let me know, okay, no, but it was on the left side. So that's just for safety procedure, and that is very, very helpful. Luckily, mostly we have nothing to do. We're just sitting in the car doing the race, watching the race on the screens, watching the GPS mapping, and then we also can have a nice chat. That's also very helpful. But it's good to have kind of a safety backup for your information, because we don't want to disrupt race control all the time. They have to manage many other things in that situation if something happens, and that's very helpful. And it's like an airplane cockpit, that's what I always say. That's why you have a co-pilot. You could fly the airplane alone, but it's good to have someone next to you. It's good that he has no steering wheel. No, but it's good to have, safety-wise, to have someone with me.
You mentioned the track test on a Thursday earlier. Can you now talk us through what a Grand Prix weekend looks like for you? When do you arrive? Tell us about that track test on a Thursday. What happens on a Friday, Saturday and Sunday?
I have to say, since COVID more or less changed a lot, from the beginning onwards, from 2000 to now, the procedures are kind of the same, but with the modern technique what we have to test even more things. And it's so high professional. So I'm arriving Wednesday evening at the hotel. Sometimes we have Wednesday already the track walk, where we analyze the track, where we look if the track is fully in shape for the F1 weekend. But usually we do this on the Thursday morning. Thursday afternoon we have our track test. And this test is not only based to learn the track, in my case. For sure, for me, it's good to be back on the track to find out where's the limit, how to drive every corner, where's the braking point and things like that. That's basic. For sure, that's my job. But we're also testing all the technical things, timing, TV. So Formula One is really involved to set up the right places for the cameras. The timing, very important, because Thursday is the day before Friday. And from Friday morning onwards, everything has to work in a perfect way. Because there are the cars, the race cars on the track. You cannot say, the timing is not running in a perfect way. It has to run. It has to run good. And that's what we are testing on a Thursday afternoon. FIA-wise, we practicing different procedures, because now in the modern Formula One, we have different procedures for a red flag, for a restart, for a standing start, for a rolling start. And that's what we are playing with, different procedures to teach ourselves if we are 100% on the level what we want to be. And that's why we're practicing this in the first half an hour of the track test. That's our procedure. But we always playing in different procedures, aborted starts, or so many different things, and that's what we are practicing. That's very important for race control, for us, for everyone who's involved in every race and every race weekend.
So during the track test on a Thursday, it's the safety car and the medical car. You're both out there.
Yeah.
How hard are you pushing, Bernd?
If I see the medical car in my mirror, I'm pushing like hell. No. Well, we're playing together different rules. So mostly I'm playing the safety car and he's playing the first F1 car.
Okay.
And there's different scenarios what we are playing with. I think the people on the grandstand, they don't understand the procedure, what we are doing. But luckily we know what we are doing.
Yeah.
And that's a very important procedure for the whole weekend. And for sure, you're going on the limit. Let's say on that track test, if I have a free lap, you're bringing the car really on the limit. And for sure, there's a difference between the safety and medical car. The medical car, yes, usually 2 doctors plus the driver inside. The car is much heavier, but he also has to be very quick if he has to go on the track if something happens. So both drivers, Carl or Bruno or myself, we pushing us to the limit to have everything 100% under control.
So is Thursday the fastest you drive the car all weekend?
Depends to the track conditions, because on Thursday, that's as a race driver, you realize this very quickly. Usually you don't have that grip level than on a Friday or Saturday or even on a Sunday, because the track conditions improve during a race weekend by the grip.
Yeah.
And we know this from all the racetracks. And for sure on a Thursday, maybe you start in the beginning of the track test 2 seconds slower than to the end, because the track improves doing that. But you always try to keep the car on the limit. Yes, that's...
Because I think one of the great misunderstandings about the safety car, tell me if I'm wrong, is that I think people assume you're flat out when you're leading the field in a race. But that's rarely the situation, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So sometimes I'm really lucky when the race director or when Rui tells me on the radio, but now you can drive, you can drive as fast as you want, more or less. And that's the best moments for me, because then you really can push. You know, okay, we have 2 more laps to go and then we're coming in. So, you know, you can really push hard. But mostly we are not on the limit because of the situation on the track. Let's say if there's a lot of debris in turn 4, there are marshals on the track. I picked up the leading car. I know, okay, we have to give them time that the track is clear clean when we passing this area. So we're not driving flat out. For sure, we're driving slower. Instead of 200, we're just going for 120. And that's exactly the moment when the people or when the drivers, when they're pressing the button, the safety car is driving so slow. They don't have this information. We have it. And we guide the drivers through this area and safely. That's my job. And after that, if the track is clear and ready to go, for sure we're speeding up on a limit. That's the best moments for me, because then you can drive. The other situations are sometimes really tricky to make everyone happy. And definitely the leading car is the most affected car, because he loses advantage. He's the leader still from the pack, but still, yeah, he wants to keep. They're looking for their own performance, but it's completely normal. I do my job to stay safe, to guide everyone in a safe way around the drivers, the people who are involved in this situation.
Can you hear the radio messages from the drivers?
No, I think
I remember Hamilton in particular, when he was winning everything at Mercedes. He was quite outspoken.
The safety car needs to speed up. This is just too slow for us.
I spoke to him a couple of times after the race. I said, Lewis, please don't say all these things. And he said, yeah, no, but I'm in that moment, I didn't understand why you drove so slow. And I explained to him, and he always agreed. So that's completely normal.
It's kind of heat of the moment stuff.
That's absolutely understandable and fine from my side. I have no problem about that. even when I was racing and the safety car turned up in front of me, even I was saying, why is he driving that slow? I have to keep to watch for my tire temperatures to be in the right performance. That's what a driver, what's the job of a race driver? And my job is a little bit different. I have no tire problems or tire pressure problems. And so we always say safety first. And I think everyone understands this. We're working together with the driver. For example, for this year, we have a slightly different situation in a safety car deployment than in the years before. Because they don't want to go that quick anymore because of the power of the cars. It's a different procedure, and you have always to learn every year a little bit of different procedures.
So the race drivers don't want to go that quick?
No, because they don't want to use the battery, let's say, on a long straight. They want to save energy. And that means you're driving a little bit slower. You're not going really in this high speed, let's say over 250. For example, in Vegas, we could go up to 300. That's the longest straight. That's the top, the quickest track by high speed. And I'm pretty sure they're happy with 200 there. Or not, you don't have to go up to 250 or more anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, is it difficult to pick up the lead car when you come out of the pits, particularly late on in the race if there are lap cars and things like that?
Oh, yeah, that's exactly the problem. So sometimes if it's late in the race, you know where's the leader, and race control always try to send me on track in front of the leader. That's the perfect situation. But if they're going for a pit stop, if they're on a different strategy than many other cars, maybe it's not a leader anymore. And I get guided, I can see it, who's the leader. But yeah, it's a tricky moment to make the right move. Even for race control, or if it starts immediately from one to the other side, it starts to rain and they're changing tires. That's quite tricky moments, but that's the challenge, and that's why you really have to understand and to read a race. And if you're really in that flow, you get the point, and that's the passion.
It was an inauspicious start for the safety car back in 1973 in Canada. Its first race. Us talking about this reminds me of, didn't it pick up the wrong car and it all got very confused back in 73?
I haven't watched that race. I was still too young. I was 2 years old, but I saw some film materials about that. I remember exactly. Yeah, I heard that he picked up the wrong car. They didn't really know what to do with the safety car at that time. And I think that was also the reason why it disappeared for 20 years on the racetracks. And from 1993 onwards, it was in the rules. So it was really written down what is the safety car, what is the procedure, what you have to do, in which situation. And if you think about 93, it's not so long ago. We had for sure massive steps forward what we learned about a safety car. And that's really good, because you're learning every race, you're learning every year, and you adapt the positive and important things for the next generation and for the next rules.
Did you ever discuss with Sid Watkins, the FIA's medical delegate, if you like, about how the safety car came about in 1973?
Not really in 1970.
Sorry, 1993, forgive me.
No, not in 1993. I think the medical car was always a part of it, or let's say ambulances, I think. I really don't know before the 90s what happens exactly, but Sid was already there. I think since 1994 we all know who is Sid Watkins in racing and what he has done. And then these things getting more and more important from 93 onwards, when we had big accidents, and Sid's job, and also the safety and medical stuff what they have implement in Formula One. I think that was really, really important, and we learned a lot, and that's why we created also a safety department, a medical department, to have more power, to develop quicker, to develop better together with everyone who's involved in Formula One. It's not only the FIA, so we get support from the teams. We're working together, and I think that's a very important big step that that you're working together. I think it was quite different 30 or 40 years ago.
Sure. Do you think the tragic events of Imola 1994 accelerated the need for a safety car?
Absolutely. At that time, the safety car was implemented in the rules, in the regs, but it was different cars, different drivers from racetrack to racetrack. And then from, I think it must be 96 onwards, it was a permanent driver. At that time, it was Oliver Gavin. Oliver Gavin is a former race driver, very good GT driver. And he did this from 96 to 99. I took his job over because he went to America for the American Le Mans series. So that was my lucky moment. And I think that was the first step, that you have a permanent driver to be absolutely professional in his job. And then also to have a permanent brand and the same safety and medical cars at each track, because then you have a standard equipment. So you lies something what is really, really important. And that makes a big difference.
Maybe what I meant with that question was, did Imola 94 accelerate the need for a high-performance safety car? Because I remember reading an article by Max Angelelli, who was the safety car driver at Imola in 94, and he said many years later that he was still haunted by the image of Senna pulling up alongside him. He was in an Opel Vectra, pulling up alongside him and shaking his fist at him, wanting him to go faster. And of course, Max was going as fast as he could in an Opel Vectra. And Senna had even raised the topic of the speed of the safety car in the Sunday morning drivers' briefing at Imola. So given everything that happened there, suddenly maybe it was a graphic illustration of how important it was to have a high-performance car in that role.
Yeah, I would say with that technical things, what it was 94 with, we all know how complicated cars been at that time, or how also different build the cars at that time, because the rules being allowed to have a full automatic gearbox, suspension and whatever. And I think that was even more important than maybe in the modern time, because we have now high performance cars, and Opel Vectra was a great car, but maybe not for a racetrack at that time. I think yes, definitely the development was going definitely to more sport cars, to permanent cars on a higher, quicker level. And even in the modern times, the drivers said, well, let's say with the old cars from last year, with the ground effect, they drove still with 250, they drove still big zigzag behind you to get energy into the tires, to be prepared for the restart, to have the temperature in the right window, to be on the 100% perfect level for the restart. And that's maybe what Senna tried to do in the same way. And behind a Opel Vectra, maybe it was more difficult than in the modern world. For sure, always a safe Formula One car is always quicker because it's Formula One. But I think the level where we are right now and where we've been the last 30 years, it's different than at that time.
This episode is sponsored by Saily. One thing people might not realise about making this show is just how much preparation goes into it. There's research to do, notes to check, messages flying around between us, and quite often I'm doing all of that while travelling between different countries during the F1 season, which means I rely quite a lot on having a solid data connection wherever I am. But you don't have to travel as much as I do to appreciate how useful that is. Whether you're heading away on holiday, travelling for work, or just want to avoid expensive roaming charges, Saily makes it easy to get online whenever you need it. Saily is an eSIM app from the creators of NordVPN that gives you affordable mobile data in over 200 destinations. So instead of worrying about roaming charges or trying to find a local SIM card when you arrive, you can just connect straight away. It even includes built-in security features like a VPN and ad blocking, which helps protect your privacy and can reduce mobile data usage too. What I really like is that you only need to install the eSIM once. After that, you can travel between countries and stay connected simply by adding a new data plan. Plus, if you travel a lot, They offer the new Saily Ultra plan, which includes extra perks like airport lounge access, fast track services, and priority support. So download the Saily app in your app store, use the code GRID at checkout to get 15% off your first purchase. What other developments have there been since 2000 that have helped you do your job?
Well, car-wise, I think we know the history of all the cars, that we also improved car-wise, but to implement the technical things inside, the information inside. Well, my first safety car, we not even had a TV. Well, we had a TV standing 5 meters away from the car, where we tried to watch it somehow. Luckily we had radio, for sure, but we hadn't the backup radio, so it was more or less like a hand radio in your hand. A year later, I get some earplugs to get the radio contact into the helmet. Then we implement a TV inside the car. Sure, still everything is guided by radio, but the information what we had around by GPS mapping, by they know where I am all the time by GPS. I know where all the cars. I nearly could manage without radio what I have to do on track if something happens. And that's very helpful, and that makes the whole procedure much safer, more information to limit the mistakes what can happen, and that's quite important for the whole situation, so you can react in a better, safer way. And that's quite impressive what we did. Even if you look to the cars, with the big movements what we did in safety since 2000, I'm involved in Formula One. It's quite impressive. We've been lucky in 2000 to have ABS, or kind of Anti-Schlupfregelung in German. It calls I don't know the name in English. Let's say traction control. And now it's a standard in a proper sports car. So that's very impressive to what the technique, which level we are right now, and I'm pretty sure the next generation of safety cars will be even on a higher level. Tire performance, drivability. That's quite fantastic what the engineers are doing.
Is it intimidating having a field of Formula One cars in your rear view mirror?
It still is, yeah. I'm still impressed.
Even now?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's great to... If I have to deploy, I always say the best races are without any deployment of a safety car, because nothing happens, and hopefully we have a good race. Sometimes if the safety car deploys, it helps the racing a little bit, because we have new situations.
Well, and safety cars often breed safety cars, don't they? Because you bunch up the field, we get a restart.
We have a restart again, and the race starts from a new thing. But it's somehow, if you have these F1 drivers behind you, you can feel you can feel the power, you can feel the spirit. Everyone is looking forward for the restart, for everything can happen, and that's the fascination on the sport. And even I feel this in front of. If you ask me if I'm still nervous, yes, I'm nervous. Without this, I think this adrenaline, I think it would be boring, and I would be not a safety car driver anymore. But I need that. It's like on a start. If you jump into your cockpit, when I jump into the safety car 10 minutes before the start of the race, I check everything. I check everything like I'm jumping in my race car. Radio check, I look all the systems if they are all set it up like I want to, and ready to go. And then it's the moment there. You have to deploy. You have to catch the leader. If not, you have to do this and that. You know the procedure. You have your co-driver next to, so everything is on place. Everything is ready to go, and that's the spirit and the adrenaline. Everything comes together.
Do you know how many laps you've led in Formula One? I've got a rough idea, but do you know the exact number?
Not the exact number. We try to find it out. We have a list from 2007 to 2026, and it was 1,309 laps, plus the first 7 years. So we couldn't find out the first 7 years in the moment. But the deployments from 2000 to 2026 was, together with the sprint races, 319 deployments. That's what we found out. I'm really bad on numbers. I'm happy to remember 500 races, but that's what we found out. And now we have to count a little bit more. So I guess it will be...
Must be near 1,500.
Yeah, something like that.
1,500 laps, which would put only Verstappen, Hamilton, and Alonso ahead of you.
Schumacher, maybe?
Sorry, of the current grid.
Okay,
the current grid.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Only
well,
3 drivers on the current grid have led more laps than you. That's something to tell your grandchildren.
I have to, yeah. And even if you want to top that, yeah, we have to talk about F2, F3, because if I cover this on top, it's even more. But yeah, that's part of the job. Well, these kind of numbers after 25 years, it's more than 25 years and 500 races. It was somehow very impressive, but it took also 26 years driving the safety car, so that was a long time.
So we've discussed cars, we've discussed developments, we now know roughly how many laps you've led. Can we talk about some of the most memorable races that you've been involved in? I've got some ideas, but if I said to you, Fuji, 2007, Japanese Grand Prix, first race back at Fuji since 1977, it was wet.
Yeah,
it was
really
very wet, wasn't it? Tell us about that. How many laps? The race started behind you, and I think you did the opening 19 laps.
Yeah, it was many laps. I think I already knew that it will be raining on Sunday. I realized that already on Thursday because of the whole weekend.
It was relentless.
Yeah. We couldn't see the Mount Fuji the whole weekend. And we had an earthquake on the Sunday to Monday. I remember exactly. But back to this weekend, yeah, we had a really nice car at that time. It was a big step for AMG as well. It was the CLK 63. So it was a new normal aspirated engine, very powerful. And the car was quite tricky to drive under wet conditions, believe me. So when I saw the rain, I said, oh, okay, stay safe, don't push too much. You're driving the safety car, you can't win the race. And then it came exactly to the situation that we did so many laps. And like in every road car, the fuel consumption on that cars, if you push, it's not the regular fuel consumption. It's a little bit more. And we realized, okay, we're running out of fuel. And the drivers behind me, big spray. I could see this in the mirror. And so I said this on the radio to race control. Okay, so we can do a few more laps, but then maybe we're running out of fuel. Luckily, at that moment, the rain disappeared a little bit less rain, maybe 5 drops less. So we said, okay, let's race. Okay, perfect for me. We knew in that situation that we changed the cars. So we have always 2 similar cars, 2 similar safety cars, even at that time, in the FIA garage. So we came in, jumped into the other car, drove. Yeah, the car was running, seatbelts being in position, so we just jumped in, drove down, end of the pit lane, in the procedure. At that time, Peter Tippett's my co-driver. At that time, he was also, that's new. We never have done this. I said, it's cool, isn't it? So being in the parking position, and we had a screen as well, a little screen. It worked so. Being in the position, and the lap after was another crash on the track. I can't really remember. I think it was...
Was it Alonso?
It was Alonso, yeah.
He had a big one, yeah.
Yeah. It was a bigger one. He really pushed hard, what I heard afterwards. And he crashed, and safety car standby, safety car deploy. Boom, again on the track. And I said, okay, I think one more time, the same procedure, that's really tough. And we did another 6-7 laps. Luckily, in the end, we could race. We did 19 laps. That was... for me, at that time, under these conditions, very tricky. But we made it. And I think everyone was quite happy that we could finish the race on the safe way. And we've also seen a very interesting race.
It's invariably wet races, isn't it, where you're called? Because if we go in chronological order, I'm then reminded of Korea
Yeah.
2010.
Yeah, 2010, important year. I think it was New Rex as well.
Yeah,
at
it
that
was,
time.
yeah. First
right.
time in-
Correct, yeah. And Mark Webber, I saw when Mark Webber maybe lost his championship.
That's the one.
When he slided away. I said, oh, no. Even while I know Seb won the championship in the end, but I know Mark quite well from GT racing from the 90s. And I said, oh, no, he lost the car and disappeared. So that was the ticket for Seb to win the championship. And it was it was really tricky conditions in South Korea. Great racetrack, but the weather conditions on the rain was very tough for the drivers. And yeah, we did also many laps there.
You did.
I remember.
And it was almost dark when it ended.
Yeah,
I remember
correct.
that.
Yeah.
So the tarmac was only laid 10 days before that race. Can you feel that, the slipperiness of it, all the oil, even in the safety car?
Sometimes it's yes, I could feel like also in Turkey we had once this problem, but yes, I could I feel it, and in the car that it was very slippery. But many times between a road car or the safety car and a race car with different tires, it feels different. But in that specific situation, we had exactly the same problem. So the grip level on wet conditions was not really perfect, but in the end, it was the same for everyone because they are all on the same tires. That was in the end helpful for the sport because everyone is on the same level, and the grip level was really for sure not the best one, but it is like it is.
Look, one more I wanted to suggest was Montreal 2011, the longest race in the history of Formula One, 4 hours, 4 minutes.
Yeah, we changed the racks afterwards. Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
We all had web feet by the end of it. But there was the 2-hour delay. Do you remember? In the middle of the race. We started the race, it was then too wet, and we had this 2-hour delay. And one of my abiding memories of that race is you being sent out by Charlie Whiting to sort of go and check the conditions. Now, can you just tell us what you're looking for in a situation like that?
Well, in a situation like that, if it's continue raining, and that was in Montreal the case, are you going on in that specific track, you're going to more or less to the chicanes, because on the apex, sometimes you have standing water, and for sure that's dangerous because you get aquaplaning. And that's what always Charlie said, just Bernd, go for a check lap, look to the corners where you see standing water. And that was nearly everywhere around, in every chicane. And under these conditions, you can't race in a safe way. Luckily, it was so windy that we could manage it in the end to have a race, but it took a while. And in that big break, in this 2 hours break, I went up to race control and had a break there, had a coffee and a piece of cake because nothing was going on. We had to wait. But in race control, I think that's the safest and best informed place where you can be.
And is it very clear to you when the conditions are okay for Formula One cars?
Yeah, it's quite clear. If you have standing water, it's for everyone the moment where you say that's not drivable anymore, not drivable in a safe way. And so if I'm on
from an aquaplaning point of view or from a visibility point of view?
Exactly, that's even on top.
Right.
The first is aquaplaning, and then you're listening to the drivers, because the driver behind me, maybe he can still see enough to race safe. But if you listen to the driver on the 10th position, what we are doing, and they say, well, we have no visibility, that's the moment when you have to make safety decisions in race control, and that's what they always listening. And if drivers complaining to the team, I have no visibility, I can't see anything, that's the moment when race control is reacting in that way. Yeah, for sure, that is a red flag.
And the spray just hangs between
the spray.
trees.
It's in the modern Formula One world a big point. We're working on some ideas for the future, but it's very tricky.
Mud guards, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other races that stand out to you?
Well, for sure we have.
I mean, there's so many. We've worked out
there's so many. We have
1,500 laps.
Sao
Yeah.
Paulo, I think 2016, when we
That
had
was
4 or
wet.
5 deployments. That's
Yes.
also.
That's when Max went from 16th to 3rd in the space of about
Yeah.
16 laps at the end. Yeah.
So
Is Sao Paulo a really tricky racetrack? Because you get all those rivers because of all the hills.
But a fantastic racetrack. I think
Yeah.
we all love to go to Sao Paulo. It's a great racetrack, but on the wet conditions, they're always producing good races on dry and on wet conditions. The only problem is, if it's raining too much, you have little rivers crossing the track, or also parts of standing water. But racing there, it's very, very great, I have to say.
Do you get on the plane going to Sao Paulo thinking, yeah, I'm probably going to be busy this weekend? Because
Well, Sao Paulo, everything can happen because
Yeah.
you're surrounded by many lakes.
Yeah.
Humidity at that time is always high, so the the weather conditions are not so easy than on other. Let's say if you are go to Bahrain.
Well, you mentioned Bahrain.
Yeah.
Were you involved in any way with the Grosjean accident in 2020, or was that purely the medical car?
That was purely the medical car, and luckily the medical car is behind the start for 1 lap, because the risk of that something happens in that specific lap, it's higher than in all other laps, and that's why Dr. Ian Roberts at that time and the medical car drivers immediately there to help Grosjean in the way what they could help. And but that wasn't me. I was not even involved in this procedure, because they immediately show a red flag, what is that situation, a normal standard thing. So I was disappeared. I was already waiting in the end of the pit lane on the red flag. So the drivers came back to the pit lane all together, lined up, and everyone was looking for Roman, and luckily he survived in a really good way after this big crash.
Yeah. Well, Bernd, it's been so great to have you on the show again. Thank you for your time. So many stories, so much experience in one man that I'm looking at right now.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Go on. Here's to the next 500.
500.
How old will you be in 25 years' time, Bernd?
Well, someone told me that I will be 77 or 78. I think another 500, maybe in different functions, but definitely with 78 in the safety car, I'm not sure if this is high professional, but I definitely will do another couple of years.
Well, the great thing is, whatever happens, however long you do the safety car, you're now a wine producer as well, right?
Oh, yeah, right. That started with it's a big story. Maybe we have to do another Beyond the Grid.
But you produced a special bottle celebrating 500 races, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's what we have done. I have a little vineyard where we're doing wine since 2018. And yes, for this specific race, for 500, we have done a special number of 500 bottles with a special, really nice wine in Magnum and also in a normal bottle. And it's great.
It's going to be a good vintage, right?
It's a nice vintage, very close to me, so very familiar.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very
Great
much.
to see you.
Thanks.